Thank you for joining the July 10th VOLTHA TST, the VOLTHA call. And I do want to remind everyone we do record the session, so it will be posted later to the VOLTHA playlist on YouTube. So keep that in mind during any discussions, comments, and presentations. And first on the agenda I wanted to talk about today is there is an issue that Zach brought up related to Jenkins on VOLTHA discussed, and so I wanted to cover that quickly if there are any questions from the group. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to look at that email from Zach from yesterday. So Zach, if you don't mind, do you want to just quickly recap what's going on here for the team?
Sure. So if you guys haven't, for the people who haven't met me before, I'm Zach Williams. I work mainly in the cord space, but I sort of took some organizational roles in helping migrate from the older Jenkins to the new Jenkins. So there are a bunch of changes on the open core Jenkins to make it run in EC2 and have EC2 executors, which hopefully will mean that your jobs get run through faster. But in that process, some of the older jobs that we had that were validating Garrett patch sets were not being run properly. And some of those jobs, one of them was this license check that we do, which checks to make sure that there's an Apache 2 license on certain file types. That wasn't being run on patch sets. Also, there's a unit test job that used to be named VOLTHA Garrett that did the make unit test with coverage, and that wasn't being run either. And there's also a SonarQube job which does a code review coverage task. So those are the three jobs that we usually put on most projects. The licenses one has some legal requirement that I am not exactly sure the exact details of, but it needs to get passed. So there's a patch set I created that 10.166 that it's very large, touches a lot of files, but what it does is adds basically that copyright license blurb to the top of all of these files. There's a script that generated this. When we did this on certain files in Cord a while ago, it did have some minor breakage, but mainly that breakage was because the shebang line at the top of shell scripts was getting wiped out. I fixed that issue, so that shouldn't be too big of so I don't think that we're going to have as much breakage as is possible when we did that previous conversion. The unit tests, actually, those are practical tests, and that should be a good test that things are actually good and worth getting into the code base. So that should be useful for a lot of people. I don't know what else to say other than this brings the VOLTHA project up to the same level as all the other projects that are hosted on opencord.org. Are there any questions about this?
Sorry, so everything right now is up and running and normal now, or?
So all the tests are set up and ready to run, but they're not going to pass until that 10.166 patch set goes through, because they'll fail the license check every time.
Okay.
And there's also a 10.180 which changes the make file, because previously some of the unit test and coverage data was being overwritten. All that does is write out each, because the unit test framework, the nose test gets run multiple times, but it was overwriting its output files. That changes it so that they're put in different directories, so it can be read in.
So Zach, what happens to the commits that fail the Jenkins verify thing? Do people have to go back and what do they have to do? Do they have to rebase them, or how would the Jenkins job be triggered for those patches?
How we go forward from here? First, we need to get the license patch in, and then people would need to rebase on top of that, and then assuming that they don't fail the other tests. Actually, I think we have it set right now so that the unit tests can't fail the job. There's and so I think that for now it's really getting the licensing information in and then rebasing on top of that. And then we can talk about how at a later time probably about how we can tighten up those tests to meet whatever the requirements you guys have for quality.
So what you're saying is that the unit tests were before this move to the new Jenkins, the unit tests were the unit test job wasn't a gating criteria. I mean, if it failed, would it still allow a commit to go through?
So I'm not aware of whether it was or not, and that Jenkins machine has been taken down, so we don't have a way of checking. Unfortunately,
I think something was running, and I think it was the unit test job. But there's definitely some kind of verification that was running. That's what I noticed when it stopped running after a couple of weeks.
I thought it did like a make you test.
Yeah, which is a unit test, right?
Right, which did some very basic connectivity tests. Started up Volta and made sure the logs were there.
Yeah, that's the eye test, right? Integration test.
So there are also some other tests that that were created that are Volta related on the new Jenkins, but I don't think that those were set. Either they were not completed or they were not set to gate patch sets. We can definitely look at those and set them to gate patch sets if that's desirable.
Yeah. So I guess we'll want to keep whatever was gating earlier, still retain that, and yeah, we can take that offline.
Okay. Yeah, and I can help with creating and working on those and getting the jobs going because I'm pretty familiar with the system now.
Yeah.
I just am not familiar with the Volta set of tests that should gate.
Right. Okay, yeah, and I think, I mean, at least I am not, and I think many of us are not familiar with how the Jenkins jobs run and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely your help will definitely be very, very useful. Thanks, Zach.
Sure. You can bug me either on Slack, on the OpenCord Slack, or by email. But that would be the best way to get a hold of me to fix these things.
One question is, the North Forge is also using the same Jenkins script, right? So I don't know whether is that something we need to also work with the North Forge?
I'm not aware of the interaction between North Forge and this. So if I need to be put in contact with them, that would be fine.
Yeah, I think that may not be a bad idea because I know they're doing the testing verification for the VOLTHA project also, so that'll be great.
Yeah, if you or somebody else could put me in contact with them, that would be useful. Thank you.
Daryl is actually on the call right now.
Yeah, I'm here. It's just yeah, Zach, we can get in touch and try and coordinate.
Okay, that'll be great. Thanks, Daryl.
Okay, thank you.
I just have a question here. Do we have an estimate or a target for when this first item will be merged in?
I basically am waiting for someone to look at it and review it. It should be fairly trivial to review. All it does is puts a comment that has, this is an Apache 2 license thing at the top of every file. You'll see that every file in that patch set is like 13 lines and is a Apache 2 license.
Okay.
So.
And Stefan, I see you're on the call, and it looks like you were tagged as a reviewer here. I don't know if there are other people who should be looking at this or anything. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thanks, Julie.
All right, thanks, Zach. Any other questions for Zach before we move on?
Let's before that. So Stefan, are you going to be? Are you the person to review it and then approve it?
Well, it's touching pretty much all the files of the systems, but I can look at it.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks. All right. I think we can move on now to the Sprint 4 status updates. I thought the first place we'd start today we've got the 1047, which we've had a fair bit of discussion on over the past week, and then also a follow-up on 1030, and then we'll move on to the remaining items in the sprint. So 1047, let me move over to the board here. Okay, so this one, I don't know if we want to hand it off for discussion. So I think we had kind of a short-term approach. Oh, and it looks like we have a new comment in here yesterday as well. So wanted to check in on next steps then for this, or see if there's further discussion needed with the team at this moment. Oh, and I see there's a separate call set up also for the etcd interface.
Yeah, the call is for going forward, rationalizing. It's just an engineering call. Jono, you said you told Nick that you had tested this.
Yes.
His 1085 change.
Yeah. So I tested that in the weekend, and it seems to be good for me. It was definitely running for more than one day.
Cool. So,
so the question I had was just one I posted in the Slack, which was, do we want to? What do we think about the patch that Luca made, which was about the fix that you suggested done? Do we think we should merge that, or are we still having questions about that?
I don't know that we want to merge it. If we don't need to, right? This would. It tightens up the time where in a multi vCore that the leader failing would be detected, and right. I think it was an exacerbating, but the real root is the fix that Nick implemented. We could come back and revisit it if we need to, but who was it? Stefan, I think, made the case that the faster, the tighter that loop is, the quicker we recover. So I don't know. It's a long wind of saying I think we should hold off and maybe even reject it for now. And if it surfaces again, revisit it. But
yeah, so I was still seeing the log messages that you were saying, but you're thinking that they're benign at this point.
Which ones? The timeout or the heart? Oh, well. Do we need to close 1047, or are we okay with it? Because it's marked as a blocker right now. But yeah, I don't know. You might try tweaking it and see if on yours, and see what gets the message to go away with while still being as short as possible. The way I can do the same. I haven't deployed next change in our lab yet, but
so basically what we have right now is a workaround, right? So maybe we can remove the blocker status. Don, what do you think? At least we can remove that.
Yeah, I guess I will test again without this fix for the tracking the delay thing.
But Jono, you're running etcd operator, right?
Yeah.
Well, so I'd be interested, because the longest, when we ran etcd operator, the longest we saw that it would, before it started killing them off pretty rapidly, was 2 days. And you ran the entire weekend?
No, not the entire weekend, actually. I think right now it's that same part of up 2 days. I haven't checked it yet. So, but we could definitely see that wasn't hitting the memory problem that it was before, right? We were looking at the memory usage and we see that it was relatively flat as opposed to previously when it would sort of grow very fast and hit the 7 and then die.
So do you want me to hold off on reducing it from a blocker till there's some more testing, or?
Well, I think we're unblocked. It's just a question of do we need the DUNS tracking loop fix to be unblocked, or does it actually work without that?
Okay. So
yeah, I agree with that. Right.
Okay, I'll update that priority later. It looks like I have to go to a different screen to do it. So any other discussion on that item for today? And it sounds like, again, there's a follow-up call tomorrow.
So is there anything that you want me to do? Like I'm the owner right now of that bug, so it should be transfer ownership, or is there anything that I can do on my side?
That's Luca talking, or Stefan?
No, that's Stefan.
Yeah, it's up to you. Jono's running a test, and I'll shortly be running a test as well. It'll take a couple days for us to know if we want that fix, because I mean, I think I agree with you. The quicker we detect failure and recover from it, the better. But I don't know. But can we just not call it a blocker, just hold on for another day or two? And if we don't need to do that, then yeah, because the log message isn't the initial indication. The initial indication is that the operator starts whacking the etcd instances, and isn't smart enough to not whack all of them at the same time. So yeah, I just hang on to it, and we can revisit it.
Yeah,
I towards the end of the week.
I think we can both run the test again, and we'll know some more once we do that.
Okay, so Stefan, are you fine with us just leaving you as the assignee at the moment while the testing's going on? But I think no actions for you at this moment?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. Okay, then I think the next item I wanted to look at was 10:30. Oops, if I can find it on the list. Here we go. And so this was the issue with VOLTHA hanging. And Jono, I think the last update I'd seen from you was from last week, and it was still hanging at that point. So is this?
I think this is eventually the same problem as the 1047.
Yeah, I think so. So I won't put a link in here yet.
Yeah, but I think this is probably resolved in the same way as 1047.
Okay, so when we have the results on the 1047 testing, if you could go up afterwards and update 1030 as well, and we can close it out if needed.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thanks. All right, I think we'll go back up to the top and start doing status updates on the other. Actually, before we do that, are there any other specific JIRAs that the team wants to look into before we start going into the routine status updates? Okay, I'm not hearing anything, so I think first, I believe I saw Ken on, yes, Ken's on the bridge. So I wanted to check with you on the status for the issues you're working on.
Yeah, I'll need to look at those Jira tickets, especially those assigned to me, to make sure like I'm doing the thing in the right order, because I was away, so maybe things have changed. So I'm still in catch-up mode.
Okay.
So once I'm up to date, then I'll be able to see like if those issues are the one that I should be tackling now, or it should be other issues that I should be looking at.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions from the group before we move on to the next item? All right. Then Vol 484, delete an addition of flows not working on the Edge core. And so this one, let me see. Amit, do we have you on the bridge today? Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Yeah, hi. Hello.
Hi, Amit. Hi.
Yeah, we've started working on it, so that's why it's been pulled into progress. We should be submitting the changes as in the next few days.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. And then next on the list, we've got 767. This is OpenOLT PON admin up and down. There's been a little bit of discussion on this online in JIRA. And let's see, we do have some Garrett reviews open. I think we have the -1 issue from Jenkins here, if I remember correctly. Yes, we've got the -1 from Jenkins. Okay, so any questions from the group? And Chad, I do see you are on this reviewer for this, but we have to get the issue with Jenkins resolved first for this item. Any additional info to provide for that item? Okay, I will move on. 778. And this one is one that Venkata's working on. This is the pre-provision command. I think there's some discussion in Garrett on this. I wanted to jump over there. I'm remembering.
Yeah, I replied to John's comment. So I'm waiting for his reply. So.
Right. So let's jump over there right now.
Yeah.
Okay. And so this is, I think, a question on whether the JIRA ticket is correct. So I think what you're doing is addressing the specifics of the JIRA issue, and Jono may be calling into question if there's some additional work, I think, or some changes that different approaches that could be done. But I think that's outside of the scope of this particular JIRA. So Jono, anything you want to bring up with the group on this call, or do you think we need to kind of enhance the ask for this issue?
It just seems more robust to me to do a get device request. It's not like a big change to the code. It's just rather than passing text from an error message to understand what went wrong, we can actually get a yes or no status of whether the device exists or not.
Okay, so Venkata, can you continue the discussion with Jono on this and see if we can?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions from the group for this issue? Okay, thanks, Jono. Thanks, Venkata. And then next we've got the Helm charts, and I think this has the -1 issue as well.
Yeah, I think we decided this one is ready to merge. So as soon as we can merge stuff,
okay.
we will.
Great, thank you. And then Chip, welcome back. And I think you have an update in here for 714 on the PM state machine implementation.
Yes, and it's going along pretty good. I just have to listen to creates on a specific MAC bridge port configuration ME to implement a PM group for that bucket. So.
Any questions for Chip? All right, then let me move on to the next item, 748. This one is another that's being worked on by Venkata. And let's see, I think this one is still in
I'm
progress,
still working
not
on
submitted.
it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And then the next one, 506, is multiple PON multicast support. And Andy, I think we have you on the bridge today. Are you still connected? Oh, maybe Andy. Andy, are you still on? I think he dropped. I believe he sent me a message earlier. Let me open that up. So the update I have in chat is that they finished the development and testing around this issue. And, oh, so he did have to drop from the bridge. And so they're getting ready to have the update done in JIRA. So development and testing is complete. So hopefully we'll see that submitted shortly. All right. Then I'll move on to the next item, 705, and this is, I think, Matt working on the Broadcom ONU support for OpenOMCI.
So Matt obviously just got back from vacation, so there won't be any real updates.
Yeah, I think it's where we left it on the last discussion, where there is a link to the work in progress if people want to view that.
Yep.
All right. Then next item, 762, OpenOLT ONU delete. And
yeah, he's still working on it. It's I mean, he's running into some issues with the Broadcom API to make this fully complete. But he thinks he's on track for solving it.
All right. And then Sean, I wanted to bring up the oh, go ahead. Sorry, Don.
I was just going to say it just turned out to be a little more complex than we originally thought.
Okay. And Sean, you had a comment in here, and I hadn't seen any replies since. Do we need to have any follow-up discussion?
Unfortunately, Julie, I'm on the phone, so I can't see the comments. But yeah, I'll yeah.
Okay.
That's for me.
Trying to get Sean. Sorry, Shad.
Sorry, yeah.
So this was on, Sean had a comment out to a few folks that, with the assumption that the ONU can only be deleted when ONU admin state is down, and was not sure if there was a use case for once it's deleted, if we would want to revert that change. And so the assumption there is that after you've done a deletion, then if you want the ONU back, you need to rebuild it. So looking for some feedback or confirmation from others. So do we need any follow-up on that, Sean, or?
I'll give it a try again. But I think once you delete it, it's gone. There's really no reason, you want to revert it. So yeah. So that's accountability is where it is, right? So once you delete it, it should be out.
Mike, I see.
I will.
Mike Gasser, you're on. If you can take a look at that. I'm not sure if Sunny is on today, but we can ping.
Sorry, I got Julie, I got Jonathan here. Can answer the question.
Yeah, so the sticking point that I've been on is trying to get the OLT to release the device so that it basically signals the device to come back as potentially a brand new device, and then it's detected in VOLTHA as a new device. Now, if you just want it to be deleted and lose the handle on the device and then it forever goes away until you go probably plug it into a different port, then we have that. But the assumption, and me talking with Nick, is that when you delete it, you probably would also want to be able to have it act as a newly discovered device almost immediately. And you can choose to re-enable it or choose to have it just hang there, but you don't lose a handle on it essentially without having to move it to a different port. Or move it to a different OLT.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm following what the use case is. I mean, if we have auto discovery pop up an ONT, I'm assuming this is ONU ONT, and we have, at some point in time verified that that's a valid ONT, and we've said we like that serial number.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're going to come back and we're going to say, at some point in time in the future, I'm going to delete that ONT. I presume we're saying that because we really don't want that location to have service, and we really don't want that ONT to be there. So if we say delete that ONT on, then that means we really want it to come down and if it tries to come back up, we really want it to stay down because, I mean, I guess it could come up and it could come back up and dynamically come back up and we just say, no, that's not a valid ONT. So he just sits there and doesn't do anything because it's not valid.
Here's a scenario. What if the ONT's on the truck and they deliver it, you know, they pull it back from the customer who's leaving us and they want to deliver, they ultimately pull it to set up the house 10 doors down. What we're saying.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I guess what I'm saying is in the case where it's sitting there on the same port, I mean, it can automatically come up and be automatically discovered, but he would never proceed any further because he hasn't been given that's a valid ONT type of scenario. He hasn't said, you know, we like that serial number. He's not going to be there. Then whenever he gets plugged in on another port, he could come up and just be sitting there, and it wouldn't be until he got validated that we're going to use that. You would have to have something come down and say, yes, we allow that serial number over there now.
Right.
The problem is
the problem is the OLT, if it's on the same piece of fiber, doesn't forget about it in the firmware. So we have to get the OLT itself to forget about it, which is where he's struggling, so that it could possibly be used on the same fiber coming out of the PON port, right, which could service up to 128 different customers.
I mean, for me, this is a little bit of how the dynamic world meets the provisioned world. I mean, the delete for me, I guess, I mean, I don't know what the purpose of the delete is other than to remove the association with the serial number or SLID or whatever that says this is a valid ONT for us. I mean, I mean that allows things to move forward.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just focusing. I want to be sure the OLT, you know, once an ONU comes up and is you know, registered with an OLT, then you'd want to be able to undo it at some point, right? I mean, it just, to me, that makes sense.
I mean, for me, I'm struggling with the difference between the dynamic auto come up and the kind of more official, we've blessed that ONT. I mean, in the world of I'm going to push everything from top down, then nothing ever happens on that ONT until you push it down, and then things start to happen on that ONT. But that's not what we're doing anymore. Now we're allowing the ONT to start the bottoms up approach. And so I assume for me, delete is remove the validation information, remove the approval information that would happen with that ONT. I would assume that it does not prevent that ONT from dynamically coming up and just waiting to be approved.
Correct.
Maybe I'm.
I think the delete the ONT just remove the configuration. So the ONT should come up and become a new serial number. So it should not block the ONT to provide the serial number discover again. So I think if
all right, can Nick?
I have a point. So first, for the bottom-up approach, for now we don't have a filter on serial number, but we could. And I suspect if we wanted to delete the customer, we would remove it from whatever system, OSS, PSS, whatever, and remove it from the OLT. So to be deactivated, and when it's going to come back, it's going to request permission and be denied. The other thing is we need to remove this OLT, this ONU, from the OLT, because if we don't do that and we have multiple customers leaving and stuff, the number of OLT, the number of ONU that the OLT remembers is limited, and we're going to run out of basically space. Because every time we leave the ONU, we get one more of the list of the things we cannot provision anymore.
I think it's fine that it's fine that you remove the ONU. Then the question is, if it comes back, it should just immediately come back. I mean,
yeah, what they're saying is they're struggling with the Broadcom API because it's not removing it at that layer.
when it comes back.
I think what you're saying is what we're trying to do. We're saying that there's a problem solving that, not that we're talking.
And I think that
what the process should be.
The filtering aspect of it is just not there yet. Just haven't implemented the authorization of serial numbers. Currently, all serial numbers are approved, but it is planned that there will be some kind of form request for validation, and that would fail after it has been deleted.
Right, but because the serial number being approved and the service working are not the same thing, right?
They're not.
Something's got to build the S&C tag, right? All the open flow rules. So it's not like, we would delete a customer and the ONT would all of a sudden come back into service and they would be able to use it.
You have to have the radius authentication, right? So.
Okay,
so
I think we're.
Go
ahead.
So serial number password is stored in the service profile now.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Yeah, that was hard to understand.
So
no.
I wonder is the service series number and password ONU a series number and password stored in the service profile.
There's no service profile right now, and so if you're thinking about the technology profile, does not include the serial number information.
Okay.
Okay, so
Got it.
I think on this issue, Don and Nick and everyone, I think what I'm hearing is really the remaining work that you have is in line with what the expectations are. So I don't think we have any unresolved questions on what we need here. Is that correct?
Hi, this is Amit. Just had one question. So, then what is the exact problem that we are seeing with the Broadcom API? So I would assume that we are using the subterm config API, right, to remove the subterm clear, to remove the ONU.
Yes, that's correct. It's just finding the correct way to do that has been a bit of a challenge. I mean, there is a function in there in the API for clearing the subterm ID, but it doesn't appear to be working as expected. In other words,
I mean,
in other words, if you reboot the ONU, it comes back just exactly like it was before you cleared the subterm ID. But I'm still trying to work through that aspect of it. There's another issue that I'm dealing with since I guess Friday, where there's an SSL certificate, kind of unrelated, but yeah, that's also, it's part of trying to troubleshoot. It's confusing what's being caused by the SSL cert expiration and what's an actual problem in the code.
Hey, Jonathan. Do you want to talk to?
Yeah, I think we can take it offline. If you could send me an email with what your observation is, maybe we can cross-check on our side, and maybe we can just discuss on that, what we see on our side with the Edge core adapter.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Amit Ghosh from Redis. And also, Jonathan, I think it may not be a bad idea to also include Samuel Chen. I'll give you the information. He's the expert on the ONU in Broadcom side. So I'll give you the contact.
Yeah, forward me their contact info, because what we might do, I mean, once we can get to a point where I feel like I've explored this as far as my knowledge allows me to, just punt it over to them, let them take a look at least the open OLT code and see if there's some things that we can do that would work a little bit better. Because I mean, fundamentally what's happening is when you delete the device out of VOLTHA, the OLT still maintains a record of that device and thinks everything is still connected and everything is fine. So there's a disconnect there.
Yeah, I think some behavior is interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so we'll have some follow-up discussion over email between the interested parties here. And then anything else, or I think we should probably move on to the next item. So I have a question also, since I have on here a question also to talk about the VOLTA discuss topic on the SSL key issue and the expiration and some issues upon SIM2 related to that. I had that at the end of the discussion today. Do we need to move that up, or is that fine? Okay, I don't hear any requests to move up, so I will just keep going down the list here. All right, next item, 956, OpenOLT traffic management support. And this was one, Shad, that is assigned to you. Oh, yeah, we talked about this one. So I think you're looking at this under 737, Shad, with a better description there. Okay, and then 1030 we already discussed earlier today, so we'll move on to the next one. 1043 OpenOLT ONU ID is attributed per OLT rather than per PON port, and this one is being worked by Nick. Any comments or questions on this or updates? So this one's still on track for completion in Sprint 4. We've got a little over a week and a half left. Okay, we may have to follow up offline on that one. And then the next item, 1046, VOLTA sends port status message to ONOS periodically. So this was opened by Jono and then is being worked by Nick.
Yeah, Nick has a fix for that.
Yeah, and it looks, is this the Jenkins issue again with the minus?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, well, let's see here. Looks like it. Okay. All right, anything we need to talk about with that? I think it's getting it through Jenkins first and then under review. Okay, 1047 we discussed earlier. 732, this one is support for tech profile reference using a flow table ID and up-down bandwidth profile definition to a subscriber record at the ONOS level. And I think this one shows it's blocked at this point by 949, which is adding the ability to create and delete down and up named bandwidth profile to a database. And Gamze, are you on the call today?
Hi, Julie. Actually, Gamze couldn't attend today's meeting. Sorry for that, but I can give an update about the latest status. Yeah, actually, Gamze is stuck here because there is an ongoing discussion in the mailing list, but there is no consensus actually still. Gamze has suggestion. He wrote a comment to this task, 949. Actually, we haven't decided how will be stored the profile data. There will be it will be in studies database or what else. We have to decide it to start this task. Well, 949. I mean, we need an update because it's an architectural discussion. I think. There was some comments about this.
Okay. So I've got 949 up here now as well.
Yeah, actually there was an issue about the installing the meter flows through the ONOS. Gamze opened a ticket and I think she already fixed it, and Jono approved it in the ONOS site.
Oh, good. Okay. Okay. So then I think we're looking for some continued discussion on this thread.
Yes.
On VOLTA discuss in order to figure out the path forward.
Yeah. Also, the Gamze's suggestion was we can continue to use the studies. I mean, the OLT application can query the required data from the studies application, because this 542 it actually it's an almost same issue. I mean, the OLT application queries the studies for a purpose. I don't know what's the purpose, but if this task can be merged, we can still continue to this approach for the 949.
Okay. 542 here for a
As I think the discussion on the list was about is, do we need to somehow better separate areas of concern from status so there's not just one necessarily API or URL to which it integrates with in the back end or multiple systems back end? I thought that was some of the discussion on the list, that there might need to be changes like that.
Any other comments? Okay, so I think probably we do need that continued discussion on VOLTHA Discuss. And I'm just jumping back over here to 542. It looks like this is up for review as well.
Yeah, it has this task has conflict. That's why this task cannot be merged. And first, it should be solved.
Rebase. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So this was from. Okay. This was from last year. So this might be rebased. Okay. So.
Yeah, I think David and Jono and maybe other TST members, we need an update for this
I think so.
architectural discussion. Yeah.
Okay. We've got about 10 minutes left, so let's try and trigger as much discussion on VOLTHA Discuss as we can to move this topic in general. We're covering multiple issues here to move this forward. Any other comments from the group? Okay, I am not hearing anything. Let me move on to the next open item. 773, OpenLT Basic Alarm Reporting, and this is for LOS and buying gas. And this one looks like it's got a closed review. Let me go take a look in Garrett. Wonder if this one is. So this one is merged. So I'm wondering if this should be moved to complete. So let's take a look here. Is there anything remaining for this? Don, are you still on the bridge? Michael was working on this.
I am. And Michael's in a meeting with Cloudify.
Okay. Okay.
I can ask him, and we'll move it over. I'll have him move it over after
so
the
it looks
meeting.
like it's merged, so it probably can be moved to complete. Was there another?
Yeah, I mean, if
Julie, I think what's remaining over there was integration with Kafka. Right now, alarms come up to the adapter, but I think Michael has to publish them on Kafka. I think that was the work that was remaining. Okay. I don't know whether he's planning on doing it with this Jira.
Okay. So Don, can you check on that with Mike after the call?
I will.
Great,
Yep.
thank you.
Sure.
And Chet, thanks for the update. All right, and then the next item, Vol 1084, this is related to fixing documentation issues. And Sean, you had a bunch of comments in here also that probably need some quick discussion with the group. So when Sean, you took a look at the documentation set that was here in this Garrett, and it looks like it's related to POC activity last year. And question for David on if Sienna is still supporting the Maple OLT adapter. And then also seeing if there could be some documentation added for the Edge core, and then also for OpenOLT. for 1.4.
So my plan is, if this is part of the GitHub and then it's always released every release, then we should reflect whatever adapter right now is working. As you can see, that Julie was saying, if you can scroll down, I think the M00 through M06 are the basic configuration, mostly regarding to how to bring up the Maple OLT company, to support YAPL, to support this and that. The question is, if the Maple OLT has not been managed or no one has been testing it, I don't think any reason why we can still keep it, but I do want to have the open OLT and also the edge core, the ASF, the VOLT16 adapter have the similar information as the M1 through M6. So Amit and Shad, can you guys take a look of the content of the M01 through M06 and maybe not the multicast. It depends on whether you want to do that or not, but replicate whatever indicated in those, and for the open OOT and also the edge core OOT, and same as Atran. Atran, if you guys want to populate the same information, I think that would be great.
Okay, I'll take a look at that.
And my general comment here is that.
Pardon me?
This is John. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to say that I don't know if actually any of this documentation is relevant still. I think it's all referencing old ways of doing things, right? Running things in Docker Compose and everything here is old as far as I know. So, I'm not sure if any of it is really something we want going forward.
So basically, the documentation, all the procedure indicated how to bring up the VOLTA, how to pre-provision OOT, they're all wrong now? I thought the activate OOT probably still valid.
I mean, maybe that is still valid, but that's one command. But I think,
right.
As far as I know, all of this is referring to how to bring up VOLTA and is referring to Docker Compose. And I think that's not the
Then
way
shall we just remove this one? I mean, shall we remove it and then replace it with the updated information maybe later on, since, we want to include this in 1.4, right?
I guess the point is, writing new documentation would take time, right? It's not an easy thing to do. But it's something that we probably should pay attention to.
Right. I think we definitely require
but
update
even
at the
if
same
we,
time.
yeah, even if we can't update the documentation, we should probably remove invalid or old documentation that is no longer expected to be
valid.
But
right.
I think we should probably delete this anyway, even if we can't put new documentation in its place.
Yeah, I don't want to provide the wrong information, right? So is there any way we can maybe just remove this one?
Yeah, I guess.
Or have a big disclaimer, this one is out of date.
Well, each of the device adapters typically have a readme .env file in the base directory. Perhaps that would be a good place for each adapter to put pre-provision, enable, disable, and delete as a start.
Yeah, that was my original thought. But if that takes too much time for each device adapter owner, then I do like to have a good information in some place. So I think the manual definitely documentation we need to improve. So David and Jono, and shall we just remove this one?
I would vote for the removal.
Yeah, I mean, and generally I would. I mean, there may be some useful stuff in here, like you say. The command, the pre-provision OLT is still relevant, or there may be some useful stuff. It's just that it's littered and with a bunch of
There's a lot of not
stuff.
wrong stuff. Yeah. So maybe shall we just ask Luca, see whether he can remove it, or who else can remove this one, and then we'll reinstate the right version coming in. But I don't believe we have enough time to do this version to be fixed in 1.4. Okay, I will propose to remove this one, and I'll find out how to remove it.
Just create a Jira ticket and assign it to Luca.
Okay.
Okay,
Sorry, Luca. Sorry, Luca, if you're on the phone. Didn't mean to throw you under the bus there.
We're almost out of time here, so let me do a quick check. We've got one more in progress item, 1085, OpenLT statistics treatment structure. And this is in Garrett. Again, it's got a -1. I'm guessing that's our Jenkins issue. Yes, verified -1.
And that's where the fix. That's where the fix for 1047 is, right?
Okay. Yeah. So this will get resolved.
Oh no, I'm sorry. It's not.
This is.
Yeah, it is. This is the one that
It is.
prevents
Okay, you're right.
OpenLT
Yeah.
from pushing sets.
Yeah. Yep. This is it.
So I think that takes us through the in progress. We didn't get a chance to get any updates on ones that are still pending to see if they can be completed in this sprint. Where did I want to go here? Well, okay, my open tab is no longer there. So let me try and get to our new issues. I have 1 minute left, so we're not going to have a lot of time here. Go to the created recently. I'll point out, at least we do have a number of new stories open related to operational status for PON and things like that. So a lot of several JIRAs opened on counters and so forth. So we'll take a look at those hopefully next time. I think there was we had a new defect opened here, and this was on OpenLT, VOLTHA OpenLT out of sync with ONU. And so that one Shad had assigned to himself, and so I was hoping to have time to discuss this today, but we are out of time. So Shad, if we need to continue discussion on JIRA or VOLTHA discuss, we can do that. Or if it's still in limbo, we'll check that on Thursday's call, because I am out of time today. All right. Any other quick items before we? Oh, Shad, before I drop also, I did see 1082 remove XPON from core was added, and Shad, you'd assigned that to yourself as well. I think we'll put this in R2 in VOLTHA release 2, and then I'll let you determine what sprint you think this work will show up in. With that, we're out of time. Last call for comments before we drop the bridge today. All right, thanks everyone. I'll go ahead and stop the recording.